Welcome back to another exciting episode of Two Gay Dads. I'm Jason.
I'm Nathan.
And listen, we just want to start with an apology. For anyone who listened to the initial release that dropped last Monday, there was a private conversation that accidentally got let in. We make this show. There's a lot of passion and heart that goes into it. And we were able to fix it and edit it out, discussed how we're going to tighten our process so that wouldn't happen again, and continue to bring you the kinds of shows that you deserve. So thanks for understanding that this is not our full-time jobs, just something we do for fun. And occasionally we are going to make some mistakes.
Also had something else that you wanted to address this morning really quickly before we go into the show.
You know, I did. So we kind of had our first mini viral moment with one of our clips from the show last week. There was a lot of comments and a lot of traction, over 10,000 views on this clip, talking about, they perceived what we were talking about was immigration. And I can understand when we made the reference to concentration camps that's where. But what we were actually talking about was the Evil Heritage Foundation and their plan to end a marriage, or marriages that look like ours. And you know, there were a lot of comments. There's a lot of misinformation. We try not to censor our page. We will remove comments that are bullying or hateful. And there were a lot of people that were pointing out that there were, more deportations under President Barack Obama than there have been under Trump. So there's a couple of things. Like, one, they're comparing 8 years of Obama to the last year of Trump. So like the numbers don't exactly line up, but there was outrage under Barack Obama presidency around what he did with deportations and family separation. The immigrants' rights community were very frustrated with him. They do not hold him in high regard. But the most important part is all of those deportations didn't look like what we're seeing today. There weren't two dead Americans who were murdered by their government in the street. There weren't random ICE patrols using children as bait to lure out their parents. They weren't firing administrative judges or using garbage warrants to try to detain and impose fear on a city and a country. So there's some differences there, and I wanted to own that before we talked into the show. We're going to try to keep this show lighter, but I wanted to put that out there. Nate, I don't know if there's anything you kind of wanted to add.
There's a lot of whataboutism, and to be honest, these are unprecedented times, and the whataboutism is cute, but it's just a weak argument. You know, we need to address what's going on now, and we're an LGBT family show, and so we're talking about, in the clip that you're referencing, we're talking about real fear that is being lived through real LGBT families in this country who are fearful as a minority class. And, you know, we're talking about that fear, and that if they can do it to these folks, they can do it to any of us. And we are living out that fear. And we're going to continue to comment to that. We're going to continue to talk about it because it is our reality. And until the day that we don't have to talk about it anymore because there's been some kind of cessation of the cruelty, then we'll move on. But we're not gonna hide from this, and we're going to talk about it. And this is our space, and we get to talk about what we want to talk about.
Amen. So on to today's show, Nate, happier time. We're talking about being girl dads. So, like, what are we talking about today?
Yeah, so I did try to put in some lighter content. Today we're going to be talking about raising a 5-year-old as two gay dads, what it means to parent a little girl when you're emotionally dialed in, and also dealing with social and cultural outsider feelings sometimes because we didn't live the girl experience. Playdates, Girl Scouts, and birthday party protocols, entering young kids' social spaces that are overwhelmingly mom-coded, and navigating expectations that no one ever really takes the time to explain to you.
Nobody.
And of course, I have a really important story we want to talk about in the gay agenda this week. We're going to salute our Olympians, and we're going to talk about what we learned from Lizzy this week.
Can we talk about traitors again, too? Because you like this show, just admit it.
This is Two Gay Dads. Let's get into it.
So one of the things we talked about last week was the belief that some folks still hold that gay parents can't raise healthy, thriving kids because they think a child needs both a mother and a father. We obviously disagree with that premise, but there are some challenges that, as two men raising a beautiful, precocious, rambunctious, wakes you up at 5 o'clock in the morning little girl.
This morning.
Yeah, hey, you know what? her feet didn't end up by my head kicking me. So there's
Score one for daddy.
there's some improvement, but we thought it'd be fun to have an honest conversation about the areas where being two gay dads does come with challenges that I don't think we're prepared. And we're gonna keep it fun and light too. That's the goal of this episode: fun and light.
Too, like there's an important framing of like we're two gay dads raising a community as two of the only out gay families and in the community. Two dads raising a little girl. It's a conservative community. So there's a little bit of like when you hear it, there's some shading to the conversation about how we might be a little bit more intentional or careful here. That might not be experienced by folks in more urban environments where the LGBT families are more prevalent. That's just like an important little piece to have in there. But man, like, can I just say, I got no idea what's going on. I'm a platinum gay. I have no idea what's going on with another region.
You
So
did
that's been
describe platinum gay to
all
people.
right. So this has been one of the more fun things. And a couple of weeks ago, I told you I had to explain what a cuck chair was. So I guess I'm going to explain this one too. Platinum gay. I have never touched what they got going on. I was born by C-section. I've never been with a woman, so I have no idea what's going on there. Jason, next you have Gold Star Gay. Gold Star Gays were not born through C-section. They were born through traditional vaginal birth, but they have likewise never touched one in a other setting. Then we get to what Jason is, and Jason can explain what he is.
I am neither. I am neither. But I do think one of the highlights of ever talking about platinum and gold star gays was we have a group of really close buddies. We go to what we call the barn every Thursday night for some bourbon and cigars with our friends, and explaining this to our straight male friends here in Michigan. That was fun. But then when we found out that one of them went and talked to his family out at the dinner table about what they are, that made us laugh even more. So yes,
This is called organizing and outreach, folks. I'm just like living it.
Have been some challenges, but one of the things that I really like about being a girl dad, and I know you buy most of them, so I'm not gonna have you come back, but I love girls' clothes because they are so much like men's
You love
clothes.
girls' clothes on girls.
Yes, on girls. Like I don't correct. Thank you. I'm not the one that wants to.
And if that is you,
That is
go you. It's just not us.
it's just not. But there's dresses and there's skirts and there's all of these things. Like when a guy dresses up, it's a suit. And there's only so many things you can do in a suit. Like, what pocket square am I gonna wear? Thank God the cummerbund has finally died because we never need to see those ugly things come
Why
back.
did it ever exist?
Well, that's a better question, and maybe ChatGPT can answer that for us too. Can't fix our hot water in our house, but maybe we can adjust that. But
we have a multi-week saga of we can't get hot water in our shower, so
we cannot.
It's been a thing.
One shower, one outlet of water in the entire house. Anyways, I love all of the options that you have with girls' clothing compared to boys' clothing, and it's fun when they're babies. You've got onesies and all of this other stuff. But now she's in the age, and Lizzy is obsessed with wearing dresses. She would wear a dress every day if she can, and she is not happy that we have 4 feet of snow out on the ground because she wants to wear them to school. But it's really hard to wear a dress to school when you got to put on snow pants to go outside.
Yeah, and that's been like one of the hard things is getting her to understand propriety. Like she came upstairs today, and she's in a summer dress, and it ties, and it's adorable. It'll be great for our cruise coming up in 100 days, but not so great. Yes, not so great for winter. So kind of explaining to her like usually there's a prep, right? Jason went down. She was getting dressed. He had a whole conversation. You're not gonna be able to wear that to dinner tonight. It's too cold, and it's like, so there's always this kind of, we got to ease her into the idea that we're going to have to make her change. But no, I don't disagree. I like winter because it's the only time that guys get to really accessorize. And by the way, I don't really accessorize because everything I wear is black.
You and your hunter boots. You and your darn hunter boots. I do get to wear
I love my hunter boots.
Hard eye roll. Come on,
I think
they rolled all the way around. They rolled all the way around in my head.
I also think men should be able to ride riding boots because I think like a riding boot with a nice fitting pair of jeans and a hoodie.
Well, you had me at the nice fitting pair of jeans. You had me at a nice fitting pair of jeins for sure.
So, but then there's the hair, and the hair is a whole other. I have learned there are fantastic Instagram like dads that do hair because it's tough. I've had
It is,
this has
and
been my haircut for 30 years. It's like getting girls' hair, and then she has thick hair that,
yes.
and then somebody randomly cut her bangs at school.
Oh my god,
So that's been a
whoever
saga.
did that, Ludington area schools, I know you had the day where but, like, that was in September, and we're still struggling with those bangs growing back in. Don't know how it happened, but somehow her bangs that cut. I think it's just it's thick, it's frizzy hair, so it's hard to make it look, great. We still have not figured out the ballet bun.
No, we pay somebody for that.
We pay a high schooler who's in dance to do the hair and the makeup. We're proud to be gays, no judgment here, but we're the wrong gays for that. So that
Mhm.
is just that is something we outsource. I am a little worried because the dance studio she'll go to when we move to DC requires the ballet bun every week as opposed to just the ponytail. So we're gonna have to like do some practice runs this summer
We
before
might
that
just
starts.
go bold and just shave her head, like make her a punk
We will
rock girl,
not do
like.
that. We will not. Veto.
Well, I
Daddy
know
veto.
we talked about this once before. My mom doesn't do hair either. She's had short hair my entire life. I think most of her adult life, and so I can't even imagine my mom with long hair.
I
And
can't either.
so she did post a picture from the 90s where there was definitely some moose going on. So like go mom with the moose. I remember the moose hanging around in her bathroom, but yeah, so even when my mom sits with Lizzy, like they're coming up today, they're going to spend next week with Lizzy. My mom's like I don't do hair. So
Don't
so
do hair.
most of the time it's a ponytail. I can get a little creative. I can braid. I did teach myself to braid. She loves braids. But if you see any like pictures with her with like intricate hairstyles, there's a pretty good
It was
chance my
not us.
sister is in the periphery of the photo because she has done that. My sister, 18 years with kids, like raised two kids, one girl, 18 years in childcare. She can do incredible hair stuff. Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Or any number of our female friends who come over who always love to do Lizzie's hair for her because they know they're getting a ponytail from us. So, another thing that we've worked on with Lizzie is about, teaching body boundaries, right? And teaching her like one, we want to make sure we're having age appropriate conversations around that, right? But she's now to the age where, she can, for the most part, clean herself every once in a while, like 5-year-olds do. She can be like, Daddy, Papa, you do it. But for a couple of years now, when we go to clean her and we're cleaning her private parts, I ask as her
Mhm.
dad for permission before I do that. Can I clean your vagina? Can I clean your butt? And I make her tell me yes. And then I just subtly kind of say, like, if anyone's ever going to touch you there, they always get your permission first. You always have to say yes, even daddy and papa. And so it is just, finding that right age appropriate conversation and just let her feel like that's her body. She has autonomy on her body and she gets to control who touches her where and instilling that confident that
Yeah, we have that conversation a lot, and nobody gets to touch you without your permission. If somebody touches you and you don't want them to, always tell an adult, you can tell daddy and papa anything. We're never going to be mad at you. Even if somebody tells you that we'll be mad at you, like we are the people you talk to about this. I'm just I think like instilling that in her because kids do things happen and they happen a lot. And I don't want to live in a space where I'm constantly worried that my child is being molested by some stranger or by somebody out there. She does come in contact with strangers and she's going to be coming in contact with a lot more with school, soccer, dance. It can
Girl
happen.
Scouts.
Girl Scouts.
We'll talk about that later.
Just that she needs to give that permission. I really love that I don't know if you read that somewhere or that you instituted that, but I think teaching her that and
I
I
didn't
think
I didn't read it anywhere, but I have my own experience from when I was a child and was sexually assaulted by a babysitter. I'm also conscious that we're two men raising a beautiful woman, right? Young lady. I just like, I want to show her the respect that when I was about her age, I didn't get from someone who was supposed to care for me. There's no blame for anyone except for the person who did the evil things, right? And so it's just about saying like you have to have permission for anyone, including your parents, including your grandparents or anyone who may want to. They need to ask you, before they clean there. And we do that, noticeably less now because she's 5, so she can shower or bathe herself for the most part. Still struggles with the shampoo. Like, my gosh, like you don't need a gallon of shampoo to wash your hair. But it's letting her feel control and autonomy over her body is important.
I want to use the right language here. You are a survivor of sexual assault and molestation. And I want to use the survivor language. I think that's really important. It recognizes that you were through something that could have had a long-term impact. And whether or not it did, that's a conversation between you and your therapist. But I want to say that. Let's put that word in a space. You are a survivor. And I think a big part of this, and this does go to, I mean, the conversation we had last week. We do bring women into Lizzy's life. We encourage them to talk to
Her
her about
aunties.
her body. We my sister spends time with her. She taught her the tits, pits, and naughty bits. Little saying for the shower, which Lizzy will always come back from Ohio talking about. But I think making sure that she has women that she can talk to, that she can approach, and at some point we're going to get down the road and her body's going to change. We're not the best people to have that conversation. We can put the
We will
right
import help.
tools for her in place, but yeah, we're going to need help with that, and that's okay. I think I think if you were trying to say I'm going to be the solver of all the problems, that might not necessarily, as a man, that might not necessarily be the best tactic. I'm going to put the right people in the right place and make sure that they can help her understand her womanhood and understand her feminine body. We're going to give up on trying to say that word today.
And I'm not editing that out. That's staying.
Please go for it. I can get out words like litigable, which is the word that we would use if we didn't have the word litigious. Thank God that we have the word litigious, and I was litigation paralegal, so that's where my brain goes. But yeah, so I think
We're gonna come back to the
having women in your life, and then also, and we talk about this when we move, putting other queer people in our sphere, other families like ours, and bringing more of a diverse conversation to our household, and to our social sphere than she might not be getting right now.
I think the other women that we've helped surround her with, we call them her aunties, and it's a mixture of work colleagues who have become friends and friends outside of that. And one huge shout out and kudos to your sister for who like legally is the only aunt in her life, and she's come up with the term tanti, which is a Nordic term for aunt, because we do want to be intentional about surrounding Lizzy with dynamic women who lead influential lives and who serve a purpose beyond themselves. And we are incredibly blessed that professionally, what we do with our full-time jobs, there is this dynamic host of diverse, powerful, amazing women leaders who she gets to look at and call her aunties. And that is a gift that we are able to surround Lizzy with those people. It's also a gift from your sister that she's so understanding that, there are other people who, our family of choice, as we've talked about before, that kind of have the aunt title. And she was accepting about that from day one.
Absolutely. I'd love to get my sister on a show, just to have a conversation, with
Only if she tells the SpaghettiO story.
Okay, see now. Well, that to come. See, this is a commercial. Teaser. Yeah, there's more content, some stories about growing up, and no, my sister's been incredible support. I wish she lived closer. We live about 4 hours away from each other. I wish that she lived closer because I'd love for her to have. Lizzy is the center of her universe, outside of her family, and she's so lucky to have her.
Lizzy is incredibly lucky to have her, and it's we're at the opposite end of parenting journeys, and we've joked about this from the beginning. She had children earlier in adulthood. We had a child later in adulthood, so she's an empty nester and we got a kindergartner.
Yes.
So there's some dynamics there. Nate, let me ask you a question. I know you and I have had this conversation. We haven't had this particular conversation on the podcast before, but do you ever feel extra pressure or extra scrutiny to be like the perfect papa because we're 2 men and two gay dads?
I feel it when I don't feel like I'm living up to the right um mark. And I talk about like if there were a mom and a dad in a situation, I'm much more the mom. I'm fine. I'm secure with that. So I do feel like when I don't know how to do her hair right, or when I don't know how to do the other things that the other moms might be doing, or I miss the mark, I do feel some pressure. I will say our friend Kelly has been a great resource in that for me because she helps me feel better about it when I do get insecure and I can be vulnerable with her about that. But I definitely do feel the pressure because that's the role that I kind of take in her life. What
You,
about you?
you know, I think, Kelly said something when she's been on the podcast and other people that we talked to. We just did a prep call with some future guests of saying like, and they're gay dads to twins. And like, oh my God, two is so much harder than one. Like, how do you do like this is all we've known. Right. So like all we know, and Kelly said that when she was on the show, like this is all we've known as parents. But yeah, I feel the pressure when we're out and about. Colleagues have, shared with us from work that, when we first shared that we were adopting, they were of course supportive, but they thought they had no idea what they're doing. Oh my God, how is this going to go? And then they're like, oh, you're just the best dad. It's like, so there's an intentionality that we bring to it. So I think it's, 97% in our head and 3% reality. So it's more with us. But we just want to like we went through all these steps. We were so intentional to have a kid. We just want to make sure we do it well.
I think that I definitely feel like we are always expected to be the most prepared to have the most well behaved child. We have to be always prepared. She has to be in the right uniform and the right thing. And, I was just
Well,
thinking
that's just
about,
because we're gay. So the fashion sense
well,
that they expect on us is it.
we show up at golf camp. She's in golf camp in the summer, and I showed up for the first day, and she didn't have her little baseball hat on, and she didn't, and she wasn't dressed in what the other kids were dressed in, and so it was like, okay, I got to step up my game. So the next week, then she came and she was in all the right gear because I do feel like people do, there. It is like I do feel pressure that we have to like prove that we're capable, and I agree with you. I think it's mostly in our heads, but I do feel like there is a social expectation that we have to go the extra mile to prove that we can do this as responsible and loving parents. And it is bullshit, but it is also real.
And then she got my favorite hat that she has that says, "Put it on Daddy's tab."
Yes. That was a Christmas present from Lizzy to Daddy. We bought it at a local store. It says put it on Daddy's tab. Our girl's going to be a golf club girl, and Daddy's going to pay the bill.
I think one of the things that's, I think been harder for me to adjust as she gets older, it's the, when we're out in public and she has to use the restroom, which one does she use? Because
I was just thinking about this.
sometimes she wants us to come with her. Right. And other times she's like, nope, I've got it. And then sometimes it's like, come with me, but just stand guard on the stall. Don't come like, and so it is hard navigating that and feeling like where, how do you manage that? I think, for us, again, that's probably more in our head. Dads take their girls out, right? Heterosexual dads take their girls out all the time to places and deal with the same struggle. We're lucky because we live in a small town. So almost everywhere we go, we know people, they know us. And so nothing's a big deal, right? But, it is just, I don't know, making sure we care for our girl and just being aware of those differences.
I was just thinking about that because a lot is I give her the option. Do you want to go with Papa? Do you want to go to your bathroom? And then, she's at the age now where it's like, if you come in with me, you wash, like I help you wash your hands, but I might have to go. So then it's like, I put her in the corner. Can you look at the corner? And she's always really good about like giving us space and respecting that there are other people in the space. But it is a little unnerving when when you set her loose in a bathroom and sometimes it's just quiet for a while. We had just the other day where Jason's like, do we need to like find somebody to go in and check on her? And then sometimes you'll hear her singing because she loves the
And making
acoustics of the
friends.
bathroom. She makes friends. She always makes friends with little old ladies who help her wash her hands. And I love that there's a community and that like I don't know if men would be the same way with little boys, but like with the women in the bathroom are like, this is we get you. We're part of you. We're in your community. We'll take care of you. We've always been like really friendly people that are like, yeah, I helped her wash her hands because sometimes it's really hard to reach the soap and to get the paper towels. I was just thinking, no, we were at Great Wolf Lodge, and I sent her, and there's a lot of sensitivity in those places. So I sent her into the women's locker and bathroom, and all I heard was she was crying. And it's like, okay, well, now what do I do? Because I can't go in. She's clearly upset. So, it's just Papa from the door, like, Lizzy, are you okay? And she couldn't get her bathing suit back up. I'm like, all right, well, waddle to the door. And I helped her get herself positioned. But like, that's a case that's unique because it's putting a wet bathing suit on can be really challenging when you're a little person. So,
Really challenging.
and we try to be sensitive to other men, we try to be sensitive to women, but sometimes it can be hard.
Hey, so one last thing before we kind of move on from our girl dads segment, and this has been really fun, and I feel like getting back to the intent of our why we started this podcast. What's your papa superpower?
My papa superpower.
What's your what's the thing that you feel like you bring to parenting that makes you the exceptional papa that you are?
I think I'm a planner, and I do believe that one of the things I've made an effort to teach her is that there are certain uniforms that you wear to certain things. Dinner at the club, you wear a dress. So and I'm like teaching her that there are certain things that you wear at a certain event. So like I'm always making sure that she's prepared. I do 95% of the clothes shopping. I'm the one that makes sure that the bathrooms are always stocked, that there's always extra, soap and shampoo and stuff. So I think like just the organization skills of making sure that she has all the right stuff, that it's prepared, that it's put together, then and because she feels better when she feels like she's prepared. So helping her to make sure that she is prepared for those things. So I think like that's the organization and making sure that she's ready to go. What about you, Daddy?
I think what I hear when you say all of those details is that's your way of taking care of your family, right?
Absolutely.
And you've had to step into that role because I'm gone 120 nights a year, right, on the road, and so it's hard to always do that. I think for me, we there was no whoops, we're having a kid, right? Like every part about our journey to becoming parents was intentional. And I know that there are families who go through traditional means of having a child, and that is very intentional too. So this process for us was incredibly intentional. And so I like to think what I bring is like I try to be the compassion and the fun one, like the daddy whose shoulder she can cry on, or the one to just, kind of roughhouse and be goofy with. So I think it's a really good yin and yang. See, now I'm struggling with words to how we parent our child. And I think they play off really well together. You're the structure guy. I'm not the structure guy. Right. And that's largely like you live in a professional world where your day has to be very structured given what your role is and what you have to do. And my day from when I started off my career as a police officer to even what I do now, I may think I know what my day is going to look like. And I bet you by the end of it, it looks nothing like what I thought it was going to look like. Right. So I think some of it is just a different lived experiences and then how we translate that to our parenting. But I think they go together well, and just, being the goofball that throws her on my shoulder and calls her a sack of potatoes and then drops her on our bed is like, you know,
And that is the parenting archetypes. It's the care, the one that does the caretaking and the playmate. And you do that really well. And you're also really good about like encourage you pull me. I'm an introvert. You tend to be more of an extrovert. You pull me out of the house. If I had my way, Lizzie would read books and live in the basement. And and we wouldn't do the soccer and the dance and the Girl Scouts and the stuff like that. So like you're good about pulling me out of my shell a little bit and pulling and giving her those opportunities that I'm not necessarily always good about seeing. So when you guys have weekends together, you guys are always doing fun stuff when I'm out of town. So you're really good about that and taking
time
the
that's
effort.
the time I get with her, right?
Absolutely.
And I think I had a really good example from my dad when I was younger. He traveled kind of in the same rhythm that I travel, but I remember I don't have like anger like that. My dad like I have good memories of the things we did, so it was quality over quantity, right? And so it's making those moments that you have, it's making those moments count, right? So it's going out and playing in the snow. It's driving to the and getting the day pass for the water park. It's finding those fun things you can do sometimes when you don't feel like you have the energy to do it. because you've been traveling. So, but that's the time I get. So I got to make it count.
I think this conversation leads right into the next segment. Just a couple days ago, I took Lizzy to orientation for Girl Scouts, and it was more of a like get to know you meeting. Is this something that your family might be interested in? My sister was a Girl Scout, my mom was a troop leader, and my dad was an honorary Girl Scout back in the era when it was strictly moms and daughters operation. So, being back in that world felt a little familiar and very different than what I remember. And honestly, in the best way, one of the troops they highlighted had 30 girls, and it was run by a dad. He has 8 assistant like troop leaders that help, but and they said he's incredible. And I think like that just shows that there's been a lot of progress. I think Girl Scouts has been evolving. Boy Scouts has been going through this forced transformation because of a lot of sexual abuse that led to them broadening and fixing their model. And I think like Girl Scouts has also been going through transformation. I love the idea that there are dads leading troops. I'm not going to be one of them, just to be clear.
Me neither.
But I
I'll
love the progress
volunteer. I'll
there.
volunteer if there's the Girl Scouts version of the Pinewood Derby that I remember from Boy Scouts. I will be the volunteer dad that shows up early, helps set up, helps tear down. But I am not going to be leading a troop. That is no. So what surprised you most about the orientation?
I think just that it is much less of a mom daughter space than it used to be. It still is. Don't get me wrong. But that there are dads getting more involved. And I think that's really cool because it opens a space where even if I'm not a troop leader, that I can still be in that space. So if she has shown interest in being in Girl Scouts, which I think is great. It's a great program. It teaches you civic responsibility. It teaches you
Absolutely.
honor. It teaches you. So like, why would we ever not? I love for that space for her. I love that there's a legacy in my family of should be the 3rd generation. But I also I love that I can do that with her. So as soon as she signs up, I'm going to sign up too. I'm going to get the background check, and I want to be able to be in that space with her as much as I can.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad that went well. Another thing we've been talking about is, just in our own household, in addition to the Girl Scouts, and is like play date and birthday party etiquette, and like
Let's talk about
what
this.
is that? And like I just want to say one thing on the front end of this. When it comes to birthday parties, can we please stop opening gifts in front of everybody? It is the
Love that idea. I hate that.
I hate it. Like
So we were texting with my mom about this because we were complaining about it on our family chat, and
yes, we were.
she told us that back in the 70s it was still popular to open your wedding gifts in front of your guests. Can you
Awful.
imagine?
No, no. Like
I hate opening gifts in front of people. I don't like getting gifts. I don't like giving gifts. It's just not my jam. But
and let's just talk like one, it becomes like a showing off contest. Who gave the best present, who did this, who did that. So like we don't need this social shame or social pressure of opening the gifts. It can be done, in my opinion, it can be done later, right? But then the other thing, like, man, those kids don't want to sit and watch one of their friends just for 30-35 minutes, like open a dozen presents. We were recently at a birthday party. I actually thought they did it really well. They just started opening. If you were going to open the presents, within there, like they didn't make a show about it. They're like, hey, we're opening presents now. Like they just kind of quietly sat down and started opening the presents. So if you're going to do it, that would be the way to do it. But I would just say, man, like leave the gifts on the presents table and let the kids play and have fun together. It's the kids' birthday party. Like let the kids run around and do whatever they're going to do. I Can we just agree that on this podcast that for Lizzie's next birthday, like, because we've tried to do it and we've always kind of caved a social convention, that for her 6th birthday and moving on, we will not. I swear, I, Jason Burns, do solemnly swear that I will not have Lizzie open her presents in front of other people.
no, I think too that is a generational thing. I think that came from the greatest generation to the baby boomers. And I think as the baby boomers are exiting, we will also see some of those old traditions leave. Some of them are worth keeping. This is not one of them. The other thing though, can we also talk like going on birthday parties? And I am very unsure and I've talked to other moms and dads about this. I am very unsure of the protocol of the leaving or staying. And like, I can't imagine, I've done it once, like leaving her in a space with people that I know, but I don't know everybody else. And then like leaving and checking out and going and having a beer somewhere or lunch. Like I always feel like I need to stay with my kid, but also like the protocol of not like if if you're throwing a party and your intention is for parents to leave, I feel like it should specify that on the
Yeah.
invitation because I don't know and like I'd love to make plans, but I don't know what the like until I get there what the protocol is. And I feel like this is something that's left off in invitations. Also, we're having Lizzie had a great birthday party last year. We had kind of like a little carnival set up with a bounce house and the whole thing. I would like the parents to stay. And so I think equally I should specify that this is for families and the parents should stay because I don't necessarily want to be responsible for your kid in a bouncy house. Like my homeowner's insurance is not going to love that idea. So I feel like it needs to go both ways, but there's a protocol here that seems very unclear to me.
Yeah, I think, okay, so a couple of things for Lizzie's next birthday party that we're learning from this. We're not doing presents and the invitation, depending on what theme is and what we do for the party and whether we're in Michigan or the DC area at that point, we'll say families welcome or drop off and leave.
Yeah.
And I think because I think there's also the things like Kelly is such a dear friend. We might always ask Kelly to stay because Kelly's going to be willing to lend a hand versus the parent staying that, is because Lizzie wanted friend X from school to come. Well, we may not know those parents. And then it's those awkward conversations where you feel like not only are you trying to host a kid's birthday party, you're trying to be good adult host when really sometimes all you want to do is just like let the kids play and maybe talk to the people you already know because you're already exhausted from the setup.
I think too there is a conversation about like being two gads going into a space where you don't know who's going to be there. There's some like pressure to again perform, but also, it's very vulnerable. It feels very vulnerable. I want to call that out because I think it's really important to say that like if you have gay friends that are coming into a space where they might be the only gay couple, just be aware that they may feel awkward or vulnerable in that space. I think we benefit from we're relatively well known we're affluent, we're a gay couple, so we kind of walk in with this white men, like we walk in with this kind of you
We
can't
walk in with
touch us,
privilege.
right, with
We
that
walk in with
privilege.
privilege.
And I don't think everybody enjoys that, so I think like just being aware that sometimes LGBT parents coming into a space can feel really vulnerable. Birthday parties is one of them as a family, especially when you're the novelty at the party. It can feel awkward.
So, Nate, you've done some homework and some research this week for what's been on the gay agenda or where are we in the news? And I think we're going international this week. So, what do you got?
We are. So this is coming out of the UK. It came to my attention through Gareth Barlow, who is he's a good looking Sky News presenter,
Oh my
and
God,
he's
he's
gay.
gorgeous. He's gorgeous.
So I'm going to touch on this article, but I also want to discuss a very alarming shift in language that's used in this article. And I do want to say upfront, this is out of the standard. So it's a
It's a right leaning.
right-leaning publication, but I think it's demonstrative of an ugly turn that is slipping into the mainstream. And if it's starting there, it will come here. So this is the article is life expectancy lower in people who identify as LGBT plus. Data
Where's the
suggests.
where's the T?
So we'll get to
Where's
that.
the
We'll
T?
get to that. We'll
No,
get to that.
where's the bloody T? You Brits, like, come on now, like we are the LGBTQ movement, like we are we are not going to leave our trans siblings behind. What?
I know. Well, let me cover the article first, and we'll get
Okay,
to that.
okay,
Okay.
okay, okay.
So this is the first time they just came out with some census data out of the UK where they have measured life expectancy by sexual orientation. And the result, interestingly enough, shows that I'm going to put it back in, LGBT plus people live shorter lives. And so I thought it was interesting, but like I'm not going to take the standards word for it. So I peeked into the Trevor Project, who's put out some really good research on this, and they talked about that in the U.S., LGBTQ plus youth are telling researchers that they are not sure they'll even make it to 35, and that belief is strongly linked to suicide risk. Life expectancy disparities aren't just medical, and I just want to put that out there. Life expectancy is not medical. This is about discrimination. This is about support systems. This is about mental health. This is about hope. And so I pulled some stats. I know you hate it when I go too deep into the
But
numbers.
let's just pause for 1 second though, because I think like I don't want to lose this moment into the stats, which you should absolutely share. Listen, it's getting easier. Seems like maybe we're having some backsliding, so it's getting harder again. But I feel like last year it was easier to come out in this world than it was when you and I came out. And you and I have both known and lost friends that when you come out, like it is easy to try to self-medicate with alcohol and other substances and
Yes.
not take care of your body because in some ways you feel like you don't you feel like you're going to lose everything anyways when you come out, so like who cares? So like there's a reality to specifically that mental health part which takes a toll on people for why they come out. Suicide rates we know are higher in the LGBTQ community than they are in the other community because you can feel like you are alone and you are isolated. And so like I just want to underscore this point that you made so eloquently. Life expectancy isn't a medical thing. When you see a difference in life expectancies in what we would call in the United States protected classes, so different life expectancies in terms of race, gender identity, sexual orientation, when you see, birth rates for women of complications for birth rates for mothers who are people of color, being some of the highest in the world, like that is a measure of discrimination, not a measure of medical prognosis.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I just love this. I saw this somewhere, but like what you believe about your future should not determine whether you get one.
Wow. Where did you find
Yeah.
that? Can you say that?
I
Just say
don't have the
say that
source.
again. Can you say that again?
What you believe about your future should not determine whether you get one. And I feel like that's really important
Wow.
right now. Really
Oh
important
my
right now.
gosh.
So here are the stats, and I just want to get these out. 36% of LGBT youth believe that they have a low chance of living to age 35. Teens, younger teens, 13 to 17, feel this even more strongly. Only 59% believe that they'll make it to 35 versus 73% of 18 to 24-year-olds. So here's the breakdown. LGBT youth who believe that they won't live to 35 report, and let me flip the page here, 82% anxiety, 77% depression, 77% self-harm, 69% suicide consideration, 28% suicide attempts. And, I think when you look at this, the groups with the lowest perceived life expectancy include, and I'm just going to say the one at the top of the list, is a non-binary youth. And that leads me to the language used in this article. They left the T's out. You just left out a huge part of our community. And this is not just going to happen there. It's going to happen. It is happening here. The Trump administration is already cutting the T's out. And soon, even those within our community are cutting the T's out. And this is demonstrative through this article, even though it wasn't written by an LGBT person. But I think that if they feel like they can get away with putting this out there in the UK, who is arguably more progressive than we are, then we have definitely crossed a Rubicon here. And I don't know what it means.
I feel like we should reach out to our friend Steven from Rainbow and Black and see what Rainbow and Black's opinion about this is, and with some advice for how we do that. We cannot allow people to be erased. Period.
Absolutely.
Their lives have meaning. Their lives have value.
And erasing them it is killing them. It is killing.
Literally.
It is not just cutting them out of the conversation. It is killing them.
Yes.
Stop pretending that that's not the case. So I thought that this was important to include. I also wanted to just touch on the Winter Olympics officially kicked off yesterday in our time, or last week in the time that this will be put out on the interwebs. And I wanted to take a moment.
Opening ceremony last night.
We did. And I want to congratulate the 45 or at least 45 Olympians from our community, the LGBT community competing this year. I also want to bring out really specifically, I'm probably going to get the name wrong. It's Elis Lundholm, who's competing in the moguls from Sweden, who is the first out trans athlete to compete in the Winter Olympics. So we got representation, but we're making history here, folks. And it's coming from our T's. God bless them. God love them. Amazingly well done. Well done.
I really like the Winter Olympics. I like the downhill skiing. I like the bobsled. Maybe this seems like a good time to introduce Lizzy to the Cool Runnings movie.
I love the Winter Olympics. If you haven't seen the bobsled, this just came out this morning. There was a video where the American bobsled team lost their footing, and all but one of their sledders fell. So the only one of them made it into the sled. He made it all the way to the bottom. It's a miracle that he didn't have a major accident, because they really do need all those people to help
The weight distribution,
ballast and steer and brake.
Right.
And
the brakes are in the back of those things, and you steer up front. How do you steer and brake?
yeah, he did. The fact that he didn't was a miracle. He was steering from the front, and well done to that. I think it was him. I'm pretty sure it was to well done to them on that. Also, though, I like the Summer Olympics because
Swimmers
and
beach volleyball.
I really enjoy. I like the
Hey, it's all good. So as we prepare to close episode 11, which is hard to believe, just a couple housekeeping things. If everyone who watched this show on YouTube could hit that subscribe button, that would be absolutely fantastic. We want to continue to be able to change and grow and do fun things. And right now there's some limits on how many subscribers you need to have, a certain number of subscribers to do a YouTube live video. And we want to be able to continue to grow and expand. So if everyone who watched it could just hit the subscribe button, that would be great. Follow us on our social media pages. Feel free to check out our mini viral moment too. There were more not great comments than there were good ones. So I'm not saying wade in, but sometimes feeling of some support would be nice. So Papa, what did you learn from Lizzy this week?
So I'm going to go back to the Girl Scout story. I'm just always impressed. I know I say this every week. I'm always impressed with the kid. And she makes friends really easily. She's like Jason in this capacity. I have a terrible memory, so I can barely remember people's names, let alone details. I'm just, this is why I have a very close-knit, small group of friends. So I am not good at that. I'm an introvert, and she goes into these spaces and makes little friends, and it's sweet to watch, and it impresses me that she can do that. When we talk about our move, she always talks about, I don't want to leave my friends, and I'm thinking in the back of my head going, but man, kid, you make friends so easily, you're going to do just fine. So what about you, Daddy?
So, sometimes it's just learning and remembering to embrace your kids' creativity, even when they're asking for something to write something or do something. So, twice this week, Lizzy was like, I want to write something. I want to do something. And what I got out of those were 2 sticky notes that I'm leaving stuck to my computer, which I don't normally do because I don't put to-do notes that way. My husband helped teach me that. But I got these cute little drawings from her that say, I love you, and her name with a little picture of her. And she just, when I wasn't looking, when I wasn't at my desk, she came and she stuck them on the very bottom of my monitor. And now when I'm sitting here at work, at my desk, on a call, I've got these beautiful reminders of my kiddo who went out of her way to create something beautiful in her own way for me.
She's special.
She is absolutely special. That is episode 11, folks. We will be back next week with a new episode that we will record when we are both traveling in DC.
Together.
Together to DC. So that'll be a first. We'll have to figure that one out. So it'll look a little different. It might feel a little different. We're excited. We love producing these every week. We have a tremendous amount of fun doing it. Until next week, everyone, I'm Jason.
Nate.
Onward.
Onward.